Chapter 2, Microorganisms, Friend and Foe. So let's start. You have seen several kinds of plants and animals. However, there are other living organisms around us which we normally cannot see. These are called microorganisms or microbes. So children, if you want the definition of microorganisms or microbes, so microorganism is a living organism that is very minute and which cannot be seen with the unaided eye. So you have to only take the help of the microscope or a magnifying glass if you want to see a microorganism. Okay. For example, you might have observed that during the rainy season, moist bread gets spoiled and its surface gets covered with grayish-white patches. Observe these patches through a magnifying glass. So you will see tiny black rounded structures. Do you know what these structures are and where do these come from? So let me tell you, these structures which are present on the bread is called bread mold and its name is rhizopus. Okay. So if you want, you can note it down. Its name is rhizopus and it's another name for bread mold. Okay. And this is always present in the air. Whenever these microorganisms get warm and moist conditions, they settle on the bread. Okay. And they form black patches on it. Now microorganisms 2.1. Activity. Collect some moist soil from the field in a beaker and add water to it. After the soil particles have settled down, observe a drop of water from the beaker under a microscope. What do you see? So when you will perform this experiment, you will see tiny organisms moving around, okay, under a microscope. And this observation shows that soil contains microorganisms, okay. Now activity 2.2. Take a few drops of water from a pond, spread on a glass slide and observe through a microscope. Here also you will see tiny organisms moving around, and this observation also shows that pond water contains microorganisms. Now the question says, do you find tiny organisms moving around? So I have already answered this question, okay. Yes, we see tiny organisms moving around. Now these observations show that water and soil are full of tiny organisms, though not all of them fall into the category of microbes. These microorganisms or microbes are so small in size that they cannot be seen with the unaided eye. Some of these, such as the fungus that grows on bread, can be seen with a magnifying glass. Okay. Others cannot be seen without the help of a microscope. That is why these are called microorganisms or microbes. So if you want to write the definition of microorganism or microbes, so from here till here, you can write this definition. Okay. And if you want, you can also add that microorganisms are classified into 4 major groups. These groups are bacteria, fungi, protozoa and some algae. Okay. So microorganisms are classified into 4 major groups. These groups are bacteria, fungi, protozoa and some algae. Some of these common microorganisms are shown in figures 2.1 to 2.4. See here on the next page. These both are bacteria. Okay. These are rod-shaped bacteria. Then if we move down here, you can find algae. This is Chlamydomonas and this is Pyrogyra. This is single-celled microorganism, unicellular, and this is multicellular, Pyrogyra. Okay. Then protozoa, amoeba and paramecium. These are the examples also of all these microorganisms. Then scroll down. This is fungi. Bread mold we have already discussed about this, rhizopus, then penicillium and then aspergillus. Okay. If you want, you can practice the diagrams as well along with the names. Now come back to the first page again. Viruses. Now let's talk about viruses. So viruses are also microscopic but are different from other microorganisms. They, however, reproduce only inside the cells of a host organism, which may be a bacterium, plant or animal. Some of the common viruses are shown in figure 2.5. Here 2.5. Here, see. This one and this one. Okay, these are viruses. Now again come back to the first page. Then common ailments like cold, influenza, flu and most coughs are caused by viruses. Serious diseases like polio and chickenpox are also called by viruses. So children, please learn these definitions and examples also, because in question you can be asked that common cold or influenza is caused by what? Okay, which microorganism? So then you can write virus there. Okay. The causative microorganism, they can ask you, what is the causative microorganism of chicken pox or polio or cold or influenza. So there you have to write the answer virus. Okay. Now the next one, bacteria. Diseases like dysentery and malaria caused by protozoa. This is protozoa, whereas typhoid and tuberculosis are bacterial diseases. So if causative microorganism for dysentery and malaria is asked, then you will write protozoa, protozoans, or if causative microorganism typhoid or tuberculosis is asked, there you will write bacteria. Okay. So before proceeding to the next page, let me tell you what are protozoa and what are bacteria. Okay. So let's talk about bacteria first. So bacteria are very small and they are single cell microorganisms. Okay. And you will find bacteria in large number everywhere. For example, in air, soil, water, every surface around us, on our bodies, and even inside our bodies. Okay. And there are three types of bacteria: spherical bacteria, rod-shaped bacteria, and spiral bacteria. And if you want to know the examples of two bacteria, then lactobacillus bacteria, which is found in curd, and then rhizobium bacteria. Okay, so these are the examples of bacteria. If you want, you can note them down. Now let's talk about protozoa. So protozoa are also a group of single cell microorganisms. Okay, and protozoa are found in ponds, lakes, dirty water drains. Okay, damp soil. And if you want the example of protozoa, then amoeba and paramecium are examples of protozoa, and the diseases are already mentioned here. So you can prepare with the definition, then the example, and then the two diseases caused by these microorganisms. So I've already told you about virus, then bacteria and protozoa. Now let's read about algae. Algae is a large group of simple plant-like organisms. Okay, and you all know that algae is green colored, and this is found in still water. Okay, the still water surfaces, and algae also have chlorophyll in it, through which it can produce photosynthesis. They can make their own food by the help of photosynthesis. And the example of algae are Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra. Okay, and the diseases caused by algae. So there are no diseases caused by algae. Let me tell you. Okay, because algae is green in color. It prepares its food by the help of chlorophyll, and let me tell you one example of blue-green algae. Blue-green algae has the ability to fix nitrogen gas of atmosphere. So every microorganism is not harmful. Okay. So here my main motive is to tell you that every microorganism is not harmful. Every microorganism will not cause diseases. Okay. So algae is a microorganism which is harmless. It doesn't cause any diseases. In fact, it is very useful. It has the ability of fixing nitrogen gas of atmosphere, and which is very important to increase the soil fertility. Okay, so blue-green algae helps nitrogen gas of atmosphere fix into the soil, and it increases the soil fertility. Okay, so in other words, we can say every microorganism is not harmful, right? Then fungi, the last microorganism what we will study is. So fungi are a large group of microorganisms. They do not have chlorophyll, and they do not make their food with the help of photosynthesis. Okay, and the example of fungi will be yeast, bread mold, which we have just studied. Okay, the rhizobium, then penicillium, and then aspergillus. All these are fungi. Okay, now the next page. This we have already discussed all these. 2.2. Where do microorganisms live? Microorganisms may be single-celled like bacteria, some algae and protozoa, or multicellular such as algae and fungi. They live in all types of environment ranging from ice-cold climate to hot springs and deserts to marshy lands. They are also found inside the bodies of animals including humans. Some microorganisms grow on other organisms while others exist freely. So if you ask questions that where do microorganisms live, so this whole paragraph is the answer to this question. Okay. Now 2.3, microorganisms and us. Microorganisms play an important role in our lives. Some of them are beneficial in many ways, whereas some others are harmful and cause diseases. Let us study about them in detail. Now friendly microorganisms. So I've already told you that all the microorganisms are not harmful. Some are harmless. So here this topic says this only. Microorganisms are used for various purposes. They are used in the preparation of curd, bread, and cake. So microorganisms are also very useful. They are used in various. They are used for various purposes. So the microorganism, the lactobacillus bacteria. Okay, this is also a microorganism which is used in the preparation of curd. So whenever your mother sets curd for the next day, what she does, you can note it today. Okay, if you want, you can stand with your mother and see the process. So what she does is she adds a little pre-made curd to warm milk and just keep it aside for some time. Sometime means for 4 to 5 hours. After some time and in warm place. Okay. So after 4 to 5 hours, you will see the curd is set. How the curd is set? With the help of lactobacillus bacteria. Okay. So microorganism lactobacillus bacteria helps in the formation of curd. Now if we talk about bread and cakes. So yeast is a fungi which is used in the baking industry for making bread. So yeast is very helpful. Okay. If yeast is not there, you will not be able to bake your bread because yeast makes the bread soft and fluffy. Okay. So that is very useful. Now see here. Microorganisms have been used for the production of alcohol since ages. Now yeast is also very helpful in the formation of alcohol. They are also used in the cleaning up of the environment. For example, the organic waste, vegetable peels, remains of animals, feces, etc. are broken down into harmless and usable substances by bacteria. We call that bacteria also used in the preparation of medicines. The penicillium bacteria is used in the preparation of penicillin medicine. Then in agriculture, they are used to increase soil fertility by fixing nitrogen. This I have already told you. Blue-green algae, it helps to fix nitrogen gas of atmosphere and it increases soil fertility. Okay. Making of curd and bread. So you have learned in class 7 that milk is turned into curd by bacteria with the help of lactobacillus bacteria. I saw that my mother added a little curd to warm milk to set curd for the next day. I wonder why. Now why? Because curd contains several microorganisms. Of these, the bacterium lactobacillus promotes the formation of curd. It multiplies in milk and converts it into curd. Bacteria are also involved in the making of cheese, pickles, and many other food items. An important ingredient of rava suji, idlis, and bhaturas is curd. Can you guess why? Bacteria and yeast are also helpful for the fermentation of rice, idlis, and dosa batter. Now the next page. Activity 2.3. Take half kg flour, atta or maida, add some sugar and mix with warm water. Add a small amount of yeast powder and knead to make a soft dough. What do you observe after 2 hours? Did you find the dough rising? Yes, the dough rises. Now why does the dough rises? Because yeast reproduces rapidly and produces carbon dioxide gas during respiration. Bubbles of the gas will fill the dough and increase its volume. See here, you can see increased volume of the dough, right? And increase its volume. This is the basis of the use of yeast in the baking industry for making breads, pastries, and cakes. Now, the commercial use of microorganisms. So, commercially, microorganism yeast is used in the in the production of alcohol. Now, microorganisms are used for the large-scale production of alcohol, wine, and acetic acid vinegar. Yeast is used for commercial production of alcohol and wine. For this purpose, yeast is grown on natural sugars present in grains like barley, wheat, rice, crushed fruit juices, etc. Activity 2.4. This is they are telling you how you can make alcohol at home. Okay. So if you want, you can try this, a small experiment. Take a 500 ml beaker filled up to 3/4 with water. Dissolve 2 to 3 teaspoons of sugar in it. Add half a spoon of yeast powder to the sugar solution. Keep it covered in a warm place of 4 to 5 hours. Now smell the solution. Can you get a smell? Now this is an unpleasant smell. What is the smell? This is the smell of alcohol as sugar has been converted into alcohol by yeast. So this process of conversion of sugar into alcohol with the action of yeast is known as fermentation. Okay, and fermentation was discovered by Louis Pasteur in 1857. So this you can learn. Then medicinal use of microorganisms. Now microorganisms are very useful in the production of medicine. Whenever you fall ill, the doctor may give you some antibiotic tablets, capsules or injections such as that of penicillin. So with the help of penicillium bacteria, penicillin is prepared. The source of these medicines is microorganisms. These medicines kill or stop the growth of disease-causing microorganisms. So these medicines which are produced with the help of microorganisms, they will kill or stop the growth of disease-causing microorganisms inside your body. Such medicines are called antibiotics. These days, a number of antibiotics are being produced from bacteria and fungi. Examples: streptomycin, tetracycline, and erythromycin are some of the examples. Commonly known antibiotics which are made from fungi and bacteria. Now, before proceeding to the next page, let's see this yellow box. In 1929, Alexander Fleming was working on a culture of disease-causing bacteria. Suddenly, he found the spores of a little green mold in one of his culture plates. He observed that the presence of mold prevented the growth of bacteria. In fact, it also killed many of these bacteria. From this, the mold penicillin was prepared. So this is how penicillin was prepared. So you can learn this as well. Now the next page. The antibiotics are manufactured by growing specific microorganisms and are used to cure a variety of diseases. Okay. Antibiotics are even mixed with the feed of livestock and poultry, means cattle, cow, buffalo, okay, to check microbial infection in animals. They are also used to control many plant diseases. So, if you want, you can mark this as 1, 2, or 3. So, the first use of antibiotic is this, number 1, first point. The antibiotics are manufactured by growing specific microorganisms and are used to cure a variety of diseases. Then, number 2, here, antibiotics are mixed with the feed of livestock and poultry to check microbial infection in animals. Then, number 3, they are also used to control many plant diseases. Okay, so these are the 3 uses of antibiotics. Now the yellow box. Now precautions while taking antibiotics. This is the answer to the question. If you will be asked what are the precautions while taking antibiotics, so this is the answer to that question. It is important to remember that antibiotics should be taken only on the advice of a qualified doctor. Also, you must complete the course prescribed by the doctor. If you take antibiotics when not needed or in wrong doses, it may make the drug less effective when you might need it in future. So this question is also very common, why the antibiotics should not be taken when not needed. Okay. So if you take the antibiotics when not needed or in wrong doses, it may make the drug less effective. So this is the answer to that question, when you might need it in future. Also, antibiotics taken unnecessarily may kill the beneficial bacteria in the body. Antibiotics, however, are not effective against cold and flu as these are called by viruses. Okay. Now vaccine. Why are children and infants given vaccination? So when a disease-carrying microbe enters the body produces antibodies to fight the invader. So what are antibodies? Antibodies are like defenders. They defend our body from any disease. Okay. So the body also remembers how to fight the microbe if it enters again. If dead or weakened microbes are introduced into a healthy body, the body fights and kills the invading bacteria by producing suitable antibodies. So antibodies remain in the body and we are protected from the disease-causing microbes forever. This is how a vaccine works. Now, if you will ask the question how a vaccine works or what is vaccine, so this you can write from here, starting from here till here, okay, till here. Several diseases including cholera, tuberculosis, smallpox and hepatitis can be prevented by vaccination. Edward Jenner discovered the vaccine for smallpox in 1798. In your childhood, you must have been given injections to protect yourself against several diseases. Can you prepare a list of these diseases? You may take help from your parents. Okay, so you can do this. This is your task. You might be having a file where all these, the name of vaccinations is written, right? So you can take a note from there. It is essential to protect all children against these diseases. Necessary vaccines are available in the nearby hospitals. You might have seen the advertisement on TV and newspapers regarding protection of children against polio under the Pulse Polio program. Polio drops given to children are actually a vaccine. So this is the example of a vaccine. If you want, you can add this to the definition. Okay. A worldwide campaign against smallpox has finally led to its eradication from most parts of the world. These days, vaccines are made on a large scale from microorganisms to protect humans and other animals from several diseases. So this is the use of vaccine. Okay. Now another use of microorganism, increasing soil fertility. Some bacteria, figure 2.7, see this, figure 2.7. Both these, the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria, blue-green algae. I've already told you about the blue-green algae. Blue-green algae fixes the nitrogen gas of atmosphere, and then it increases the soil fertility. It is very useful for agriculture, okay, for farmers. So some bacteria such as blue-green algae are able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere to enrich soil with nitrogen and increase its fertility. These microbes are commonly called biological nitrogen fixers. Okay. Now another use, cleaning the environment. Bhujo and Paheli had observed a school gardener making manure. Along with their friends, they collected waste of plant, vegetable and fruits from nearby houses and gardens. They put them in a pit meant for waste disposal. After some time, it decomposed and got converted into manure. Bhujo and Paheli wanted to know how this has happened. So let's see. Now activity 2.5. This we will understand with the help of the activity. Take two pots and fill each pot half with soil. Mark them A and B. Put plant waste in pot A and things like polythene bags, empty glass bottles and broken plastic toys in pot B. Put the pots aside. Observe them after 3 to 4 weeks. Do you find any difference in the contents of the two pots? If so, what is the difference? You will find that plant waste in pot A has been decomposed. Now, how does this happen? The plant waste has been converted into manure by the action of microbes. So, this happened with the action of microbes. The nutrients released in this process can be used by the plants again. Now, did you notice that in pot B, where we have kept polythene bags, empty glasses, bottles, broken toy parts, did not undergo any such change because the microbes should not act on them and convert them into manure. Only plant waste, the vegetables, fruits, these will be decomposed and form manure. So you often see large amount of dead organic matter in the form of decaying plants and sometimes dead animals on the ground. You find that they disappear after some time. This is because the microorganisms decompose dead organic waste of plant and animals, converting them into simple substances. These substances are again used by other plants and animals. Okay, so they are reused. Nothing is wasted. Thus, microorganisms can be used to degrade the harmful and smelly substances and thereby clean up the environment. Okay, so whenever a waste like dead plants and animals are dead, they produce a very bad smell. Okay, so the microorganisms, they act such a way that they degrade the harmful and smelly substances and therefore they clean up the environment. Okay, now harmful microorganisms. Before this topic we have read how microorganisms are useful. Now let's read about harmful microorganisms. Now microorganisms are harmful in many ways. Some of the microorganisms cause diseases in human beings, plants and animals. Such disease-causing microorganisms are called pathogens. Some microorganisms spoil food, clothing and leather. Let us study more about the harmful activities. Now, disease-causing microorganisms in humans. Pathogens enter our body through the air we breathe because in air there are so many bacteria available, okay, viruses, bacteria. So pathogens enter our body through the air we breathe, the water we drink or the food we eat. They can also get transmitted by direct contact with an infected person or carried by an animal. Microbial diseases that can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food or physical contact are called communicable diseases. An example of such diseases include cholera, common cold, chickenpox and tuberculosis. Now, this is the definition of communicable diseases. Microbial diseases till here. This is the definition of communicable diseases. So you can note this. Now, when a person suffering from common cold sneezes, fine droplets of moisture carrying thousands of viruses are spread in the air. The virus may enter the body of a healthy person while breathing and cause infection. Now see, Bhujo is saying then how do you prevent the spread of communicable diseases? Now this is the answer to this. Paheli is suggesting him that We should keep a handkerchief on the nose and mouth while sneezing. It is better to keep a distance from infected persons. Okay, so these are precautions whenever someone sneezes, or to prevent ourselves from communicable diseases. Now, there are some insects and animals which act as carriers of disease causing microbes. Housefly is one such carrier. The fly sits on the garbage and animal excreta. Pathogens stick to their bodies. When these flies sit on uncovered food, they will transfer these pathogens. Whoever eats this contaminated food is likely to get sick. So, it is advisable to always keep food covered. Avoid consuming uncovered items of food. Another example of a carrier is the female Anopheles mosquito. See this figure, which carries the parasite of malaria, Plasmodium. So you can learn these names, okay? Female Anopheles mosquito, it carries the parasite of malaria. Then female Aedes mosquito, it carries the dengue virus, okay? So female Aedes mosquito acts as a carrier of dengue virus. Now, how can we control the spread of malaria or dengue? All mosquitoes, they breed in water. Hence, one should not let collect water anywhere, in coolers, tires, flower pots, etc. By keeping the surroundings clean and dry, we can prevent these mosquitoes from breeding. Now, this is your homework. Try to make a list of measures which help to avoid the spread of malaria. Okay. Now, children, this table 2.1, then this table 2.2, these two tables, okay, table 2.1 and table 2.2, these are very important. You have to learn them, okay? These are very important. You have to learn whole table, okay? So let's discuss this table. So human disease, then causative microorganism, then mode of transmission, and then preventive measures. So tuberculosis, causative microorganism, bacteria, mode of transmission is air, and these are the protective measures of these, all those four in common. So we will discuss this later. Then measles, causative microorganism, virus, mode of transmission air. Chickenpox virus, mode of transmission air or contact, direct contact, physical contact. Then polio virus, mode of transmission air or water. Now the preventive measures for these four. Keep the patient in complete isolation. Keep the personal belongings of the patient away from those of the others. Then vaccination to be given at suitable age. Now the next one, cholera. Causative microorganism, bacteria, mode of transmission water or food. Typhoid bacteria, mode of transmission water. Preventive measures, maintain personal hygiene and good sanitary habits. Consume properly cooked food and boiled drinking water, then vaccination. The next, hepatitis A, causative microorganism virus, mode of transmission water. Preventive measures, drink boiled drinking water and vaccination. Human disease, malaria, causative microorganism protozoa, mode of transmission mosquito. Preventive measures, use mosquito net and repellents. Spray insecticides and control breeding of mosquitoes by not allowing water to collect in the surroundings. Some of the common diseases affecting humans, their mode of transmission, and few general methods of prevention are shown here, which we have already discussed. Then, disease-causing microorganisms. Several microorganisms not only cause disease in humans and plants, but also in other animals. For example, anthrax is a dangerous human and cattle disease caused by a bacterium. Then foot and mouth disease of cattle is caused by a virus. Disease-causing microorganism in plants. Several microorganisms cause diseases in plants like wheat, rice, potato, sugarcane, orange, apple, and others. The diseases reduce the yield of these crops. Okay. Now in table 2.2, for some such plant diseases we will discuss, they can be controlled by the use of certain chemicals which will kill these microbes. Now before proceeding to food poisoning, let's read this table, and this is also very important. Okay. The plant disease, citrus canker, microorganism, bacteria, mode of transmission air. Then next, rust of wheat, microorganism, fungi, mode of transmission air and seeds. Third one, yellow vein, mosaic of bhindi, okra, microorganism, virus, cause of mode of transmission insect. Okay. Now food poisoning. Buju was invited by his friend to a party and he ate a variety of foodstuff. On reaching home, he started vomiting and had to be taken to hospital. The doctor said that this condition could be due to food poisoning. Now, what is food poisoning? Food poisoning could be due to consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. Microorganisms that grow on a food sometimes produce toxic substances. Toxic means poisonous substances, okay? And it makes the food poisonous, causing serious illness and even death. So it is very important that we should preserve food to prevent it from being spoiled. Now here there are some methods to preserve food, okay? Now, food preservation. In chapter 1, we have learned about the methods used to preserve and cook food grains. Okay. Now, here in this chapter, we will study how we preserve cooked food at home. You know that bread left unused under moist conditions is attacked by fungus. Microorganisms spoil our food. Spoiled food emits bad smell and has a bad taste and changed color. Is spoiling of food a chemical reaction? Yes, it is a chemical change. Okay. Yes. Now Paheli bought some mangoes, but she could not eat them for a few days. Later she found that they were spoiled and rotten, but she knows that the mango pickle her grandmother makes does not spoil for a long time. She is confused. Now let us study the common methods of preserving food in our homes. We have to save it from the attack of microorganisms. Now chemical method. First method is chemical method. Salt and edible oils are the common chemicals generally used to check the growth of microorganisms. Therefore, they are called preservatives. We add salt or acid preservatives to pickles to prevent the attack of microbes. Sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfate are common preservatives. These are also used in jams and squashes to check their spoilage. So this is the chemical method. You can learn the definition of preservatives here. You can learn these two common preservatives. Okay. Then preservation by common salt. The common salt which we use in our daily cooking has also been used to preserve meat or fish for ages. Meat and fish are covered with dry salt to check the growth of bacteria. Salting is also used to preserve amla, raw mangoes, tamarind, etc. Then next is preservation by sugar. Jams, jellies and squashes are preserved by sugar. Sugar reduces the moisture content which inhibits the growth of bacteria which spoil food. Then preservation by oil and vinegar. Use of oil and vinegar prevents spoilage of pickles because bacteria cannot live in such an environment. Okay, that is why mustard oil and vinegar is used in making pickles. Okay, so vegetables, fruits, fish and meat are often preserved by this method. So vegetables in the form of pickles, mango, lemon, okay, green chilies. These are preserved by the use of mustard oil and it prevents the spoilage of these pickles. Preserve it. Then vegetables, fruit, fish and meat are often preserved by this method. Then heat and cold treatments. Now you must have observed your mother boiling milk before it is stored or used. Boiling kills many microorganisms because boiling is done at a very high temperature. So it kills many microorganisms. Similarly, if we keep our food in the refrigerator, so their low temperature inhibits the growth of microbes. So very warm temperature and very cold temperature, both these are very suitable to kill the microorganisms. Now Bhuja is asking, why does the milk that comes in packets not spoil? My mother told me that the milk is pasteurized. What is pasteurization? Now the milk which comes in packets that does not get spoiled because of pasteurization, because it is pasteurized milk. Now let's see what is pasteurization. And children, this whole paragraph is a definition of pasteurization. Okay. So pasteurized milk can be consumed without boiling as it is free from harmful microbes. The milk is heated to about 70 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilled and stored. By doing so, it prevents the growth of microbes. This process was discovered by Louis Pasteur. It is called pasteurization. Okay, so learn this. The next method, storage and packing. This is the last method. Now these days, dry fruits and even vegetables are sold in sealed airtight packets to prevent the attack of microbes. In airtight containers or in airtight packets, the microbes are not able to enter. That is why it is sealed. Okay. 2.6 Nitrogen fixation. You have learned about the bacterium rhizobium in classes 6 and 7. It is involved in the fixation of nitrogen in leguminous plants, peas and beans. Leguminous plants include pulses, peas and beans. Recall that rhizobium lives in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Leguminous plants, peas, beans. Okay. In figure 2.9, you can see these leguminous plants as well. See this figure. This is the roots of leguminous plants with root nodules. Okay. Rhizobium lives in the root nodules of leguminous plants such as peas and beans, with which it has a symbiotic relationship. Now, how symbiotic relationship? Symbiotic relationship in the sense that the bacteria, it lives in the root of the plants forming nodules, and it converts atmospheric nitrogen into usable form. Then, in return, the plant provides the bacteria with sugar and other nutrients with food. Okay. So this is how the symbiotic relationship exists. Now, sometimes nitrogen gets fixed through the action of lightning, but you know that the amount of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains constant. You may wonder how. Now, let us understand this in the next section. In nitrogen cycle. Okay. Now, our atmosphere has 78% nitrogen gas. Nitrogen is one of the essential constituents of all living organisms as part of proteins, chlorophyll, nucleic acids, and vitamins. The atmospheric nitrogen cannot be taken directly by plants and animals. So, certain bacteria and blue-green algae present in the soil fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into compounds of nitrogen. Once nitrogen is converted into these usable compounds, it can be utilized by plants from the soil through their root system. Nitrogen is then used for the synthesis of plant proteins and the other compounds. Animal feeding on plants get these proteins and other nitrogen compounds. Okay. Now nitrogen is present in abundance in the air, but the plants, they cannot use as in that form in which it exists. So it has to be converted into a usable form by the action of bacteria. Okay. So this is how the nitrogen cycle works, right? Now, when these plants and animals die, bacteria and fungi present in the soil convert the nitrogenous waste into nitrogen compounds to be used by plants again. So, certain other bacteria convert some part of them to nitrogen gas, which goes back into the atmosphere. So, some of the proportion is converted into nitrogen gas and it goes back into the atmosphere. As a result, the percentage of nitrogen in the atmosphere remains more or less constant. It never gets disturbed. Okay. Now let's study this figure 2.10 atmospheric nitrogen. See, by the action of lightning, then the compounds of nitrogen in the soil, what happens? Bacteria turn compounds of nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen. Then atmospheric nitrogen helps in nitrogen fixing bacteria fix atmospheric nitrogen. Then bacteria in turn fix nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds, into useful compounds. Then compounds of nitrogen in the soil, right? Then here also see compounds of nitrogen in the soil. This is uptake by plants. Plants take them. The animal eat these plants. They get these proteins, and then nitrogenous waste from excretion and death. Then again this forms the compound of nitrogen in the soil. Then it goes back with the help of bacteria. Bacteria turn these compounds of nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen, and then again this is used by it goes back into the atmosphere. It is used by again by the plants and animals, and this process goes on and on and on. Okay, the cycle is repeated on and on and on. Okay, so here we come to the end of this chapter. Let's read this what you have learned. So microorganisms are too small and not visible to the unaided eye. Then they can live in all kinds of environment ranging from ice cold climate to hot springs and deserts to marshy lands. Then microorganisms are found in air, water, and in the bodies of plants and animals. Then they may be unicellular or multicellular. Then microorganisms include bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and some algae. Viruses, though different from the above mentioned living organisms, are considered microbes. Viruses are also considered microbes, but they do not fall in this category. Then viruses are quite different from other microorganisms. They reproduce only inside the host organism, bacterium, plant or animal cell. Some microorganisms are useful for commercial production of medicines and alcohol. Some microorganisms decompose the organic waste and dead plants and animals into simple substances and clean up the environment. Then protozoans cause serious diseases like dysentery and malaria. Some of the microorganisms grow on our food and cause food poisoning. Some microorganisms reside in the root nodules of leguminous plants, rhizobia bacteria. They can fix nitrogen from air into soil and increase the soil fertility. Then, some bacteria present in the soil fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into nitrogenous compounds, blue-green algae. Okay. Then, the last point, certain bacteria convert compounds of nitrogen present in the soil into nitrogen gas, which is released to the atmosphere. Okay, and the proportion of nitrogen gas always remains more or less constant. So here we come to the end of this chapter, and if you want I will upload a different video of this back exercise. Okay, thank you.